Hello and welcome back to part 3 of this tutorial of how to draw a Kingfisher in coloured pencil. So today we'll be filling in this wing on the right and then we'll be doing sort of around this sort of orange chest here. Okay, so enjoy! Right, so first of all we're going to just lift off some of the graphite. So just get our kneadable eraser and just lift it off a tiny bit so we can still see it underneath, so we still know where to go. But we're just lifting it off a little bit. There we go. And kind of like before, what we're going to do is go in with the dark sepia and just map out a few shapes so we don't get lost. So let me just get it focused. Lovely. Right, so here we've got some of our feathers that we've done in our line drawing. So I'm going to just quickly grab. Right, set up my pitch. Right, I've got it all set up now. Right. So we're kind of going over our graphite marks. Just plotting in where we put those line drawings marks earlier. So I really hope everyone's enjoying drawing this lovely kingfisher. I mean, they are such amazing birds. So if you have just clicked on this and you are thinking, hang on, just go back on my videos, I'll link them down below, and you'll be able to do part 1 and part 2. I've got a selection of pencils here, but I'm sort of showing you a few alternatives as well. So some of the Luminance, there are a few alternative ones. So for example, I use a Luminance Silver Grey, but there's the cold grey one, just in case if you just have the Polychromos set. So there's definitely a few really good ones in the Luminance range that will be really helpful if you are looking to, you know, continue drawing animals in coloured pencil. And I'll just turn Willow's monitor down. She sleeps with like a little white noise. If you could hear some whale sounds just then. I've got her screen on so I can see her. She's just having a little afternoon nap. So she'll definitely be 1 by the time I post this, which is nuts. This year has gone by so quickly. I don't know if anyone feels like time is just disappearing. I certainly do. So around here where we plotted these feathers, this actually kind of goes into each other. So that's why I kind of left this little line here. So we could draw this and then blend it all in. If you were wondering why I'd left that little bit in the last video. Because the feathers will go under here and then over here. I'm just going to turn my tablet around. That's better. How did everyone get on with the slice tool? You know, you can use the slice tool from, this is one, but all it is just, you could definitely just use a craft knife. You just have to be really careful with a craft knife because you could very easily slice through the paper because they are a bit sharper. Rather the actual slice tools, it's like a ceramic blade and it has a little curved end here. So it helps you not cut through the paper. There's the edge of the wing there. And this bit goes over here. Like that. So there's a few like little darker points that I'm just going to make a little bit darker now so I don't lose them. And then this area here underneath is sort of the orange and the yellows kind of come in here. So just put this shadow in. But we'll leave this bit for the next section. Right, so up here we need to get, I'll use the cold grey. No, I'm going to put a little layer of the white in because we may need to use a little bit of the slice tool up here because it is a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to put a little layer of this down. Sometimes it's hard to see where you're going, you know, when you're drawing white on white, but just take it sort of step by step, really. And just try and remember where you've gone. Also helps blend out the dark sepia as well. And then we use the cold grey. You can use the silver grey in the Luminance, but I just want to show you that the alternative is the cold grey, and that'll be a really nice base for our feathers. And in here as well. So coloured pencil is all about the layering, as I spoke about before. So when you are thinking about choosing colours, what's really good to sort of start practicing is your colour choice, and you're looking for the lightest colours. So I'm just going to blend this side of the feather out with the white and that side there. So identifying those lightest areas and then choosing the correct base colour. Make it a bit lighter around here. I'll show you the silver grey as well. So you can see that's a really similar colour, but it's, if I layer it on the top, you can see it's pretty similar. I just find the Luminance are just a little creamier and a little easier to blend in on this paper, which is the saunders waterford. I always want to say Saundersford, but it's not that. Saunders waterford, yeah. 100% hot press paper, 100% cotton. Going into just giving it a little light layer, and I'm going to do white in here. just to make sure that all the colours that go on the top are nice and bright. And then give it a little once over just to burnish all those colours in, especially if you have used the Polychromos. They do need a little bit of extra blending. They're just not as buttery and as creamy as the Luminance. I don't tend to use the Pablos for base colours just because the Luminance and the Poly. So I don't tend to use the Pablos for my base colours just because, you know, the Polys and the Luminance are really good, but I'm sure that you could have a little experiment yourself. Okay, we definitely need the violet grey. I'll just give it a little sharpen. And then we're going to start at the very top and start moving in the direction of those little feathers. So keeping it all nice and, you know, in line with how the feathers are moving and which direction they're going in your reference photo. Again, this is, you know, it's your base layers, so you don't need to be super accurate. You just need, we're just getting those initial colours down. The purple, these areas are a little bluer, and then the purple kind of comes in here. Definitely going to need a little bit of the green as well. Oh, hang on, let me just turn that down. So we're swapping to the Lightfast. So on the reference photo I can see there's a little bit of green sort of over here. So I'm holding it quite far back because I really don't want to put a lot of pressure on. This is the first time I'm using these pencils and I'm finding them really lovely, the Lightfast ones, but they're very pigmented. There's a teeny touch down here. Maybe a little bit there. My chair is so creaky. Listen, how can I de-creak it? Right, now we'll use, I think we'll go in with the sky blue to sharpen it. And we'll go back up to the very top of the wing. I've been thinking about this little kingfisher trying to fish. It's been super cold here. It's January when I'm filming this. I wonder what kingfishers do when the rivers freeze up. No fish for them. think we probably will end up using the slice tool just to pick out a few of these highlights, which will look really nice. And we need to blend all this in together, going over that little green patch. Sometimes if you're sort of at the edge, you might need to do a few little tiny circles just to get the edge a bit crisper. As in like a little circle like that, and then just to blend it all in. Right, let's start adding a bit of this blue on these feathers. Just gonna move that. Go over that green area that we did in here. That could just be the wing, just reflecting the colour of the surroundings where that green's come in. Yeah, because on this feather here you can see there's like a fan of lighter colours like coming over. So as long as we put up enough layers, we'll be able to get that texture in a little bit later. And then this little bit of green here, we'll go over that too. You see how it's just brought out a little something extra in the blue. Feathers start getting quite close together over here. And then each one there's like a lighter patch at the bottom, so let's make sure that we try and keep that bit in. And in here, there's definitely a little bit of a turquoise in some of these feathers. Go over this little green patch as well. That's with the, what's this one called? Light Ultramarine. We need to burnish all of this together. Oh, hopefully that stayed in focus for you. I think we're going to have to put the turquoise underneath this layer here. So put a little bit of that in. So it sort of starts off on this larger feather here. And on the reference photo, I'm looking for feathers which are just a little bit brighter that will do well with just having this little bright pop underneath. And we can do the tips as well of these. And then these are a little bit brighter too. A tiny bit on this feather too. Okay, you can sort of start to see now how the wing is slowly building up. So we'll just burnish out these colours. Some artists use like a cotton bud to burnish. You can get like blender pencils. I like using the white. But that's the beauty of creating artwork. Obviously you can follow this tutorial and do it like just how I'm doing it, or you can have a little practice and see what you think works best for you. Sort of everybody's hand is different, and everybody's, the way that they would like to do, sort of draw, is all different. Solvents are a little bit trickier. They obviously do affect the layering process, so Zest It is quite a popular one that lots of artists use. And then what it does, it dissolves all the pigment and sort of like, it's almost like stamping it all down. But I have found that sometimes it will leave like your sort of splodge marks, watermarks, just where it's difficult to get it universally applied, especially in small teeny areas. See how that white's just sort of knocking back that colour a bit. Okay, right, let's go with the darker blue. That's from the Lightfast. I'm going to start putting in some lines of feathers. So these lines are going over the back. See how that green underneath is just sort of giving that little area a little extra dimension. You may even want to, experiment by putting sort of more unusual colours underneath if you're just drawing. So say if I was doing like a pet portrait, obviously I would be focusing on creating like the exact colour match. But when you're doing something like this, and say you've got like these pencils, I've had a new set of 5 that I'd like to try out. you know, you can try out something a little bit different just to help give your work a little bit more dynamic range. Is that the right word? Make it look more dynamic, that's probably the right word. Because there is no right way or wrong way. There's just, but obviously there is like colour theory and art theory. But I think if you're making your way through this tutorial, you've done an amazing job just by giving it a go. Concentrate on where those shadows lie in each feather. I really like the way that these Lightfasts are working. I'm so tempted to pick up a few more actually when I next order some colour pencils. And the colour pencil shop always been amazing. You know, the delivery was perfect. Every single pencil was, you know, perfect. There was no broken ones or leads coming out, which is what you want. This is why sometimes ordering art supplies, especially like Amazon, you know, don't get me wrong, I love Amazon, but obviously they, you know, supply a lot of orders of, you name it, Amazon sells it. But obviously if you're buying from a specialist art shop, they will be experts in packaging up that material. So I would be more wary about ordering from Amazon, and just in case anything to get broken, because they're so delicate. And the worst thing, you know, if you had a broken lead, you'd end up sharpening half your pencil away in order to get, you know, to the, you know, better bits that maybe might survive lower down, and they're so expensive. Well, for one or two, they're not, but you know, when you're looking at a whole set. Right, so we're on these little baby feathers over here. They're not really baby feathers, they're just tightly packed. They're darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. So we'll keep that in mind as we put this blue in. It would look really nice against the orange, like up here. They all helpful. The going over the graphite lines of the dark sepia has been really helpful, keeping us on track of what bits where. And we can obviously use this pencil then to sort of blend the dark sepia and help us with the shadows. Darker in here, underneath where these sort of top feathers are laying down on top of these, the bottom ones. So I'm just moving around each section, looking at the reference photo and putting this blue, well, it should be over this little green bit again. Down here. So where I see the shadow, I'm sort of pressing a little bit harder and then lifting off a little bit, easing off. In the areas where I sort of want more of a glaze. Put a little bit more detail over here as we are trying to create the illusion of those back feathers going underneath the wing because the wings are wrapping around. This feather's got quite a bit of grey in it. So we'll use the dark sepia on this one in a bit. I'm going to just grab that now because sometimes it's easy to lose your place. I think, oh, I'll go back and do that bit, and then you forget and you don't go back and do it. Under here is a bit darker too. There's like a little extra feather tucked in here. The shadowing comes down onto the next feather. There's a little bit darker, 1, 2, 3 feathers away. It's easy to get a bit mixed up and a bit confused when you're doing areas that all kind of look the same. And it needs a little bit of shadowing underneath these feathers that lie on top. I'm getting carried away. Right, back with the blue. Oh, it's such a strong pigment. It's lovely. We're going to need the Silver Grey or the Polychromos in the cold grey one, just to blend all those colours in. See, when you start blending like this, you need to then go back in. You need to just go back in and lift some of the sort of details a little bit. I feel like we've made really good progress on the body of the Kingfisher. Normally, like the eyes, the very beginning part does take a little while to sort of start getting your head around how the portrait's going to come together. go down to this feather now. So it's definitely darker on this left hand side. And then we'll light pressure over this side. And the other two feathers next to it, we'll add in that there. Just burnish it with the silver grey. Give it an extra layer. And then we'll use the light ultramarine to give a little bit more dimension. And there's that darker one. I want to add a bit of blue into that dark piece there, just to enrich the dark colour. We'll go all over these as well. These ones are very dark, so dark sepia. Looks like there's another little feather in there we don't want to miss. I might get a little bit of the walnut brown in there. And down in these, the back feathers, because it sort of gives it a little bit of shading, there's a little bit of shadow there. So I'm just going to grab the walnut brown that we were using. Oh, that's dark sepia. Hang on, where's walnut brown there? The walnut brown that we were using up at this little area here. Oh, I think I went off the page. Oh, I just get so involved in it, I forget. I need like a little alarm. Delete. Gone off the page. Okay, there we go. I'll put a little bit of the brown in here as well, because that helps tie in that colour a little bit. Like, I can maybe see a tiny titchy bit up here. Might do a few little extra lines in at the top. And around here. Whilst we've got this in our hand, we'll just do a tiny bit over here. Needs a grey in there. So once you get the colour in your hand, it's amazing how many little bits you can add in actually. Ooh. Oh my god, a picture frame just fell off the wall. Crikey, that made me jump. Anyway. Sometimes it's a good little tip that, you know, I didn't think I'd be using this brown in this wing, but actually, so I put it in here, it goes on really nicely over the dark sepia. Sort of changes its colour a little bit, obviously as we're layering. Right, these need to be a bit more blue. To sharpen. So let's get these bluer. Looking a bit flat at the minute, but don't worry, we are going to fix that. And we'll just use this blue as a little glaze over some of this up here. Sort of all about getting your portrait sort of balanced and looking overall cohesive. That's the sort of the way that I like to work. So we're using this blue to sort of almost like colour in the feathers, because obviously they're not white, but we're also enhancing the shadows. I'm going to put a little turquoise tip along here. So get our turquoise. That'll help lift that colour. Okay, so then that lifts that little bit in there. Then we need our lovely white again, just to blend all those together. So hopefully you're finding that when you're going back in with the white, you can see the colours sort of smushing together and just making them all look, sort of flattening them down almost together, so they're all melding together. This area, I'm just going to use some little circles just to sort of buff that edge. we'll need to just buff out any graininess that you can see. Okay, so back in with that walnut brown now, because that is definitely a bit too light, and then we'll just push the walnut brown in there. Yeah, that wing's looking really, really nice. So let's tidy up this little area. So yeah, like I said earlier, you can use other colours if you don't have all the Polychromos. So this is the Lightfast Mid Ultramarine in place of the Light Ultramarine in Polychromos. I need to get little lighter areas in there. Right, so I'm going to go back in with the violet grey just to sort of re-purple. Is that the one? That's the right word. To sort of re-inject that sort of purpley shade. This is a great colour, violet grey. I would definitely recommend this one. It's really good for white fur, which you wouldn't think it would be, but yeah, it's really good. White furs often has like little purple shadowy bits. I'd love to know, like, is this like your first sort of time following a tutorial? Like, how are you finding it? What will you do with the piece once you're finished with it? Hopefully that you'll be really happy, and you should definitely put it on display, or maybe get a frame that you could frame it, and then when you do your next piece you could swap and change them out. Sometimes, like, if you just have your work on display so that you can constantly look at it, you'll be able to see maybe what went wrong, what went right, like what did you enjoy, what bits did you find tricky. And some bits you think you might have thought when you were drawing it, oh, this isn't looking very good. Actually, once all the sort of pencils and everything settle, you might have a different viewpoint. I'm just trying to fluff this little bit up now to blend it into the back. And using some harder pressure, I'm going to create some of the sort of more dynamic movements within this wing, because we have got some quite long feathers in here. We're just trying to create that texture. I'm going to keep this bit blue. I'm going to get in, put this one in here. If this is your first one that you've been doing, I'd probably suggest maybe trying, well, it's a bit late now, part 3, something easy. I've got a little cat as well on my channel, but I'm hopefully going to keep on adding through the year lots of different tutorials of different techniques as well, of how you can use coloured pencils. And then maybe if you did find this one, you know, this is quite challenging, you could then come back to it at a later date and see how far you've improved if you try it again. I've not drawn the same reference photo twice, but I have done the same animal, and yeah, just each time I think I've done about 3 blue tits. I just love them. Yeah, I can see the difference in how I've drawn them, also like different paper type. Right, so hopefully you're building up some really nice layers there. You can see that we've got like a purpley here and then sort of a more blue in the middle. So just take a little step just to go back into each feather and all those shapes. So we still want this blue over here, because even though this is like a bit more purpley colour, you know, it still has the blue in there. Just adding a little bit of this over here. Just caught my eye. And now we've done over here, I think this needs darkening up, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of this violet grey in here just to balance it out. There we go. So next we will go into the slice tool like we did before, and then sort of try and build up some more texture around here. I do find that my Super Point Derwent sort of manual one does tend to get the points just that little bit sharper. So it is always good to have a couple of options. Even just little handheld ones, little basic ones are really good, because you want to get that really nice sharp point. And then I'll show you as well, you could use the Museum Aquarelle, that's it. You could use that one too, to go in over the top, to bring a few more little highlights out. Yeah, we're almost done with this wing, and then that'll be part 3, and then in part 4 we'll go around. Oh, I'm looking forward to getting some of this orange in, and then we'll do the tree stump too. A little patch. So where we've done these little slice lines, we're just kind of going back in with a little bit of white, just building up the texture. Just get my little fluffy brush. Get rid of all the little dusty bits. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done on this wing now. Oh, it is nice, this one. I've also heard, I'm going to just try this one. The Chinese white on the Derwent drawing is supposed to be really good. I'll just give it a sharpen. So I was watching a video, and a few sort of artists So this one's quite good, so I thought I may as well just show you on here, see what I think, because I've had it in my collection for a while. Well, it's kind of similar to the Museum Aquarelle actually. Put a bit of white in there. I'll just try it out on the headpiece, just so you can see. These ones are a lot cheaper as well, this range in Derwent. So it's the Derwent drawing. It's quite a nice one to burnish out some colours. Nice. It does go down quite well over darker colours. Right, so I think we're pretty much done now. So that is the Kingfisher's right wing done. So in part 4 we shall do the chest of the Kingfisher and move down to this lovely orange, and then we'll get a little bit of colour down then on the perch. So yeah, I hope everyone is doing really well, and I shall see you in the next one. Alright, toodaloo, bye!